This is the timber wool factory. It's where we make all the wood splitters, conveyors, and firewood processors. This building behind us, got about 30,000 square feet of manufacturing space. We do everything: cut steel, burn the steel, machine the steel, weld it, paint it, and assemble it. We're going to take a quick tour of what we do. It's the end of the day. Apologize for some of the mess. It's been a long week. So through these doors right here, we back the steel trucks in. 2 to 3 trucks a week are coming in this building. We back the trucks right in here. Once the steel's on the racks, Dave, our saw guy, he's going to put them into this saw. And that's an auto saw, and it cuts it to length. The plate steel, it's going off into this room over here. And this is where we burn all of our steel. So here we got a Lone Star burn table. Takes 5 by 10 sheets. They'll cut right up to 3.5 inches. It's powered by a Hypertherm HBR 300 plasma unit right over here. And that unit there, we're cutting anywhere from 15 to 20,000 pounds of steel every day. The steel goes on the racks over here. We get 5 by 10 sheets of A36, 4 by 8 sheets of AR 400. We got 1/2 inch steel, quarter, 3/16, eighths, all the way down to 16 gauge. And on this side, we got our 1 inch plate, 3/4, 5/8, 3/8, and then we got overflows for our quarters and our lighter stock. As the parts come off the burn table, we put them onto this high-tech piece of technology right here. It's called a table. We utilize some angle grinders, clean all this mill scale off, get all the burrs. We'll make a nice shiny part. That right there, that's the teeth on our back roll on our processor. We got some other miscellaneous parts there. So once the parts are all done here, we put them together on a pallet, we start organizing them. They come out into the saw room, and here they're mated with other parts that are coming off the saw. So we got some parts here. This is part of the block lift. It's our clevis on our Alpha. That's a 3/4 inch piece, came off the burn table. Throughout the day, we're going to pile parts on these pallets, and it's going to make the different weldments. And they're going to come on down here. A couple of our parts get bent. It's our old trusty Weiss Song press brake. That's how we bend our hydraulic tanks and a few other odds and ends. Over here we got some conveyor pipe. We make our own rollers for our conveyor. So we're taking this 1/4 inch wall, 5 inch tubing. We're cutting that down to 22 inches. We're taking this 1 3/4, 1/2 inch wall drive shaft, put a burn part, we weld it together, and then it'll move over to our machine shop onto the lathe. So we're going to quickly pass through the weld shop. We'll show you guys that in a little bit. We'll make our way back into our machine shop. So this is our machine shop. We've got a couple of CNC machines back there, 3 of them. We got an old manual engine lathe here, an old trusty Bridgeport, and then some miscellaneous presses and whatnot on the back wall. Manual lathe, that's where we make drive shafts for conveyors or conveyor rollers. You can see here, we're turning down the drive shafts to get the bearings on them. Those discs, we're going to blow these holes out. They're off the burn table, they're not real round. We're going to blow them out on this lathe here, 1 3/4, so they can slide over this, and that's how we start to make our rollers for the burn or for the conveyors. Old machine, but she works great. Here's a TM1 Haas. This is basically our wedge mill. So we're putting in blanks like this. That's AR 400. That's a small TW1 4-way pup wedge wing. We put it in this mill. We make this. You can get about 8 of there, 8 to 10 of there in any given time. This cutter, spinning about 1200 RPMs, goes back and forth and makes a perfect angle. Back over here we have a Sharp. It's actually still running a part right now. And that's making some manifolds for our processor. And this is that's going on over here right now. Starts with a block of aluminum, drilling these holes, making manifolds. And then back here we got a 5-axis or a live spindle dual axis lathe, my apologies. We make stuff like drive shafts. That's our saw shaft for our processor right there. Spindles, sprockets, that kind of stuff gets made on this machine here. That's pretty much our machine shop. So now let's go over to weld. Here's our weld, where everything gets welded. 6 guys working here full time on the welders, and then there are 1 or 2 guys helping move parts and whatnot. Over here we got a guy, he's working on alpha push blocks. You can see how thick that steel is. That's 1-inch plate steel. That's the actual pusher plate, and that gets welded to a 1-inch bottom plate. We've got a whole stack of them on the floor right there. And then 1-inch clevises, and then the pin contact area is actually a total of 3.5 inches thick, so that pin will never wear. Then this tube here, that's where the pullback arm goes in. So just to see the amount of material goes into some of these machines. Over here on the floor, these are the parts that the guys are going to use during the day. So you can see some push block parts there. And then down the middle, you've got the alpha mainframe parts going on. So that gets staged. It's all coming from the burn room, the saw room, the machine shop, and it gets all ready to go for weld. And out here is where we make the mainframes. So here we got a mainframe. Guys start near the end of the day. You can see nose pieces going on right now. That's some heavy steel right there. That's where the wedge actually slides right through on that, and the whole tube's getting put together. About 3 hours, that'll be done. This is a stack of tubes, over 1,000 tubes right in here. And they weld into there, and that makes our table grates for our alphas. So we're doing a batch of about 75, I think, right now. A lot of material right there. Tried to move that pallet, the pallet jack earlier, and tell you what, it's pretty heavy. So now we're leaving weld and we're heading to paint and assembly. So I was just talking about those table grates. That's the finished product prior to paint right there. Gonna hit paint tomorrow. Probably be on a machine heading out to one of you guys here by early next week. We got some mainframes on the floor right here. I think I count 7, 8, maybe 9. There's 9 on the floor. Again, those are gonna hit paint tomorrow. Probably only get 8 of them painted tomorrow. That's about our max capacity. Then they're gonna hit the assembly floor, and they'll be ready to go. So right side of the room, it's paint, left side's assembly. Racks are going in and out of the paint booth there. We got a couple of alphas freshly painted, probably still a little tacky. No, those are hardened right up now, so those will be ready for assembly tomorrow. They're hanging on these racks here. We got some push blocks, processor wedges, pullback arms, whole 9 yards. We're going to paint in any given day 12 to 14 of these racks in and out of paint. So get quite a lot of production out of this room. On this side here, it's our assembly floor. We got a Pro HD in process. We got quite a few alphas. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 alphas and a 12-foot conveyor. During the day, there's going to be 6 guys working on this machine. One guy comes through, he does engines. A guy comes through and does pumps, cylinders, weld components, kind of the concept. Finally, QC at the end. That's where we fill it up with oil, test it, we run it up to pressure, make sure everything's good and set. Then it goes out the door, take it on the hill, run a few blocks through it, and then load it on the truck, heading to the customer. Then finally, back here, we got our inventory area. So while we make a lot of our parts, we also buy a lot of parts from our vendors, and that gets stored over here. So on the shelf up here, we got our engines. So this is our engine pre-assembly area. We're going to take engines, bell housings, and pumps. And we put them all together on that table, send them out to the floor, ready for assembly. In summary, about 20 guys work here 5 days a week, 50 hours a day, and pumping out alphas and betas, Pro HDs, conveyors. And yeah, thanks for watching.